just a moment, and we'll get started. Just bear with me for a few short moments.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Howdy, Matt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third development hour. So I think we've got a few questions here. It's probably not as many as last week. Things on your end?
Busy.
Busy is good. So I guess we can. I guess we can probably kick off with a couple questions. So I guess the big question, and probably the one kind of burning a hole in some of the Discord channels, is when will Rev be listed? And I guess they're referring to Binance.
I don't know. I guess but let's be sure to let people know that Rev is most definitely listed. I think we're on about 24 exchanges at this point. So yeah, I mean, like, part of growth is to ensure that we get the best distribution visibility for the token as possible. We are always pursuing listings that make sense for us. Each listing that we get, we want to make sure that we can kind of take advantage of that in regards to, a bit of a kind of community related events, whether it be alongside the exchange. They do their thing, of course, but for us, it's a good opportunity for us to just kind of, roll out something akin to an AMA, or just kind of basically just get people up to date and aware of what we're doing with Rev and stuff like that. So yeah, Rev, for those who did not know, Rev is most certainly listed on going by CoinGecko on 23 exchanges. Well, there's 23 separate pairings, right? So it's not 23 separate exchanges, but at least 23 pairings.
Awesome.
And yeah, we will continue to do so. It's all part of it.
Sounds good. So I guess a good one is, on I guess this is probably a question for the entire REVV Motorsport ecosystem. How's the play to earn? How are the play to earn rewards funded? And how do you ensure that this is kind of sustainable in the future?
So when we started, and it's the same with any of the projects that we put out there, we ensure that each one of the projects has alongside it a robust, let's say, pool of Rev that allows it to kind of bootstrap what needs to be done. So obviously, kind of like what that means in development, marketing initiatives that tie to liquidity funding and stuff like that in some cases, but also kind of player rewards and things like that too. So there is an amount that comes out of that, but essentially, our economies right now are kind of like extremely like in such like an incredible infant stage, essentially, because the only title of, let's say, the 4 or so that we're looking at rolling out within the next 6 months is really kind of presenting play to earn, and it has play to earn. This is obviously F1 Delta time, but when we roll out the play for Ignition, we roll out the play for High Voltage, and we roll out the play for the larger kind of REVV Motorsport individual kind of play experiences. there become far more channels for us as a company to essentially, lack of a better word, let's say we essentially commercialize. And the way that kind of the larger economy is being designed to function is that a chunk of those rewards, again, and this is probably going to be are going to be suitable for us to kind of continue to cover and continue to kind of provide, right? It's part of the system. And when we release games within REVV Motorsport, when we do provide kind of aspects that say this requires Rev to pay, all of those are being built and put in place with the consideration that a partial amount of those gets pushed back into the ecosystem and sent forward as prizes and stuff like that. What becomes interesting, I mean, and we're kind of designing this and ensuring that this is something that we can run as far as we're able to see right now based on the plans that we have. But kind of in addition to this, when the token itself, because it's a decentralized token, right? And what we're building with Rev is a slice of what this can ultimately be. There's always that kind of, and how long this takes or when people are ready to do this, we will see. But there's places where essentially, like, if you are in a position to create content or tournaments or events around the platforms that we've built, then the funding of those play to different teams from different organizations, from different groups, from.
Oh, Sean was just in the middle of quite an interesting point there, but he's just looks like he's just disconnected. Let me see if I can bring him back in here.
Boom. How about that?
You're back.
don't know what to tell you, but something went. Yeah, but long story short, we've basically ensured that we have enough funds in the way that we've allocated towards projects to, like I say, bootstrap these rewards and continue to them happening. But as the ecosystem grows itself, that the places where fees and payments and rev is being funneled into the products themselves, a portion of that is recycled out again in the form of rewards also. But then this becomes something different in X years' time when it becomes far more fully decentralized, and everybody else has the opportunity to kind of add to that in regards to they want to do a rewarded, incentivized event or tournament or league or table or whatever they want to try and do. So yeah, within our ecosystem, it's kind of assured because how we're releasing tokens and how we're allocating and how we're kind of funneling spend into both rewards and then obviously what we need as a business.
Yeah, that's super exciting, and I think what you touched on there with kind of the UGC side of things, I think that's something that will be very exciting as the ecosystem grows and develops. So I guess if we pop over to a MotoGP question, a MotoGP specific question now, with so with the MotoGP marketplace being developed in Q3, has the team had any ideas on offering collection rewards? If so, any insight on how this would work or what kind of rewards would be offered? Potential game assets?
So yeah, 100%. We will incentivize anything that is a reason, like we want to make things engaging as possible. Hopefully the experiences are kind of the majority of that incentive because they're fun and enjoyable enough to participate in. But we know what we're building, and we're saying play to earn and stuff like that, and earn can be rev, earn can be NFTs, and that's going to be the case with collections as well. But I think kind of there is definitely part of the rewards, and this isn't going to be like MotoGP specific, it's not going to be Ignition specific, but essentially like some of the rewards, and it's basically we always want to, where we can, ensure that the interoperability is present. And this is what we want to kind of do with some of these assets that people would get for a collection. And some of the most exciting, super cool stuff that we're planning to do kind of wraps back around with what we're doing with the REVV Motorsport play systems and kind of like the content creation systems in and around that stuff. So for example, you may, if you complete a certain type of collection of cards within Ignition, what that means is that you're rewarded with a type of asset that can then be utilized to get another specific REVV Motorsports gameplay systems, right? So it's kind of like how we can always make everything kind of connect together. And again, like whenever we do that, just the value of everything within the system kind of increases for everybody. And that's not just for us, but everybody, every player is kind of buying or kind of investing or winning or just playing in general, collecting. They see their asset value increase just not only by, it now having more incentives or reasons for somebody else to maybe want to buy it on the marketplace, but it has more utility. So yeah, that the collections will most definitely 100% be rewarded in some manner. Sometimes it will be simple as Rev, other times it will be GP Ignition related assets, and sometimes it would be assets that are there for the purpose of larger interoperability across the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, that's that's super cool, and can't wait for everyone to sort of experience how that's going to play out in the next sort of according to the roadmap that we've put out. I certainly can't wait to kind of see what the Rev game is gonna look like and feel like as well. So will the another question on MotoGP.
Will people be able to open packs? Is that the one?
Well, I mean, I guess that's obviously the big one, right? And I guess on the packs and on the cards, maybe you can talk about how the kind of artwork and animations will look like, or will sort of if there will be any differences year on year.
So the content itself, there's some final iterations that we're doing specifically on our rider card assets right now. So that's just being kind of, and it's basically specifically for a single tier type, right? So we're polishing them up and kind of basically getting them all ready. But yeah, it's across the teams. We've shared a few things. I think the things that we shared kind of essentially the common and rare tier of card type. They're the ones I think we shared before, but there are kind of four rarity tiers within them. And they contain custom animations. They're ones that we kind of put together ourselves. So, and yeah, they're kind of, the teasers that we've put out previously are still 100% representative of what's basically going to be within these packs as well. And then just to, go on opening themselves. So, like I mentioned earlier in the day and in the Discord itself. So right now I just checked what we're actually doing an hour ago or so, where we are with the testing. So basically what we're doing right now is we're running simulation openings. So what that means is basically we simulate the entire packs being opened and output into a dock, essentially all, I think it's like 45,000 cards. And we just ensure systems such as print numbers and drop rates are as they're supposed to be, and then obviously that all the metadata is correct as well. So we're essentially just in this kind of testing phase just to ensure everything's good, and then we can, have this alongside this, just kind of polish it where we can and where it makes sense for us to do so. Any of the visual assets and stuff like that as well. So yeah, we're still kind of on track as of right now to be allowing packs to begin opening by within next week.
Okay, that's yeah, I'm sure people will be happy to hear that. I've seen some of the demos and stuff like mock-ups and stuff like that, and I think I'd be pretty happy to receive some of those for sure. So exciting stuff. Let me see. So I guess maybe I can answer this question. One's about the new track that's playable right now, which is obviously the the Australian Grand Prix circuit. For those of you who are familiar with F1 and I guess familiar with the circuits, that's obviously the Albert Park circuit. And the question here is why Australia and what's special? Well, I guess why because it's part of obviously part of the F1 season. And I guess Australia is a fairly special track. It normally is kind of the track that kicks off the F1 season. It's the first race of the year, and it's set in a beautiful city, Melbourne, and as always, always produces a great race. I was lucky enough to race there myself in 2016. So yeah, a lot of fun memories of that track, and hope you guys are enjoying it, enjoying playing it on F1 Delta time. And I guess along similar lines, any new racers coming on board, and very excited to say that we have we've got an agreement with a driver in the US. I'm not sure if there are any US listeners right now, as it's probably still quite early over there. But yeah, we signed someone who's one of the drivers on the NASCAR grid, NASCAR Cup Series. So very exciting. Looking forward to that announcement, and looking forward to a cool partnership with him and his team. So going back to you, Sean, any exciting news about Formula E?
Formula E, huh? Yes. So I think we mentioned that we finalised the name. It is called High Voltage. That is there. So adding to Delta Time and Ignition, we now have High Voltage. So that is very close to start kind of spinning up essentially. And like what we're going to do, what we've got planned, and I think this is kind of a message across everything we're doing at the moment, because the REVV Motorsport NFT and racing platform is going to become kind of like ever present across like numerous promotions and events and community kind of events, incentives and stuff that we're putting together kind of in like from now going forwards, right? So what we want to try and do is basically when we initially put out the High Voltage website, when it first goes live, we're considering and thinking and looking into how we can do this in a way that works. Basically doing a community kind of event, or at least kind of like an exposure type event for the launch of the website. And we're considering basically having that event tie into the possibility of being able to earn a set of kind of high voltage, let's say tagged cars for REVV Motorsport, right? So if you want to get those, you would need to participate in this event. And like that's kind of going to become kind of a bit more of a norm as we go forwards, where there are opportunities to earn, like admittedly kind of the starting tier of content for the REVV Motorsport gameplay, but like they are going to be unique in that not only the fact they're NFTs and stuff, but the fact that they have a tag that is specific to the event that they can be kind of won and earned in as well. So like for example, like I said, if with this one, this may be your single opportunity to earn a car, kind of a starter car with the high voltage tag in metadata. And we leverage that tag later on in very, very cool and interesting ways. But there's a bunch of stuff we need to kind of still flesh out a bit there before we start kind of really sharing some info on that. But the tags are kind of important.
Yeah. I think that will all become quite apparent once everyone kind of gets their hands on the cars and are able to, well, cars and bikes, and I guess everything else that you can think of in motorsport, and actually kind of is hands on with them and are able to play them in the game. So yeah, very exciting. I guess is there anything else that you can kind of share on sort of how that new game is going to look or run or feel based on any kind of developments in the last week or so?
Sure. So basically, like the REVV Motorsport as a gameplay platform. So as it starts to break out and flesh out, it's going to have different types of play experiences. But the one that we launch with is essentially a an arcade simulation type of racing game. So different from what people have played with F1 Delta Time. There's kind of complete control over the car in this case. As it is right now, we plan to launch this still within July for people to kind of get their hands on it, play it, first track, a leaderboard to compete against. So kind of day one play to earn with it, and cars that people are going to be able to kind of get hold of from now until then. We'll be able to race in it. And we're kind of running a bunch of render tests at the moment to make sure that everything looks as good as we want it to look. So yeah, it's super exciting, and it's kind of step one in like when we talk about REVV Motorsport as platform is kind of like should be noted, because it is more than just a single individual slice of the game, because it is this arcade simulation game. It is things that are kind of more tactics based, strategic based for those players who want that kind of experience. It's going to give people who just want to collect a reason to really get involved in that, due to how kind of the kind of access and the types of how the cars are kind of put together and minted and created and stuff. So it's going to be like a multi-layered experience. And the thing is that everything that we have within it, and again, like where we can do it, there's the interoperability there as well. So like, we always want to make sure that if you've been playing like we did, right? So people played a tournament in F1 Delta Time and they were able to earn a REV NFT car, right? And like I said at the top, where basically if you do a MotoGP collection, you get REV assets as well, right? And that's kind of an important through line.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what you touched on there in the beginning, having actually being able to kind of play your assets, and actually for the experience being kind of more in line with what traditional or traditional racing gamers would be kind of accustomed to. I think I'm definitely very excited about that. And I know there are a few people who are listening to this right now who've given me stick for being slow in F1 Delta Time. So here's I'm excited to actually racing you on track at some point. If you guys still, just giving me stick for that. So I'm gonna have to jump off shortly, because I've got another call that I unfortunately have to jump on. But from in the last couple of minutes that I'm on here, before I guess you guys, Timon, will probably run the kind of the floor section before we open up to the floor. Just trying to think if there's anything that anything that I could ask that would be interesting.
Okay, how about this?
Unless we open it to the floor.
let me ask you, right? So basically, what's your feeling? So we know which tracks we're currently working on for F1 DT, right? So it's they're coming up soon. So of these, let me know which one's kind of a preference or favorite or of interest to you. So we've got so what do we have? We have the Canadian circuit, so Montreal, Suzuka, the French circuit, I can't remember what it's called. We've got the Dutch circuit, and then we also have Mexico coming. So these are all kind of in test and at the moment, like kind of lining them up to going out. But of those five, where's your kind of favorite, and where's your preference lie?
So I've driven the Dutch circuit. I raced that in F3, and that was, and I think you'll probably hear a lot of F1 drivers saying that it's a proper driver's circuit. It's one of the toughest circuits kind of out there, and physically I think it's very quite tough. I remember when we were racing there, we were pulling upwards of sort of 4.5 Gs, which is significant. So that's a fun one, set in the kind of Dutch sand dunes. And then Suzuka, I think I'd probably be most excited for Suzuka. It's just one of the classic F1 circuits. So much drama in the past, and for those of you guys who are F1 lovers will probably remember the battles with Prost and Senna and all the controversy there. iconic moments like Kamui Kobayashi getting on the podium there back when he was racing in F1, and so yeah, a lot of I guess a lot of good F1 history there. So I'd probably say Suzuka.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
All right, Sean, thank you very much for answering some of those questions. Timon, I'll pass it over to you to kind of pull people in. So hope everyone's enjoyed that last half an hour or so. And yeah, see you guys on the next one.
Thank you, Matt.
See ya.
Okay. Well, let me just go back. I know we had a list of questions. I'll see if there's anything else there that was pending an answer that we didn't get a chance to cover. So there was regarding. So I didn't actually touch on this. So let me just go over it. So about CardWorks animations being different each year, they will be. So basically, for every single season, we won't kind of reuse the same stuff. It's important that. So one other thing that's super important to what we do is making sure that it is actually different each time and that the content is unique each time. So yeah, like 2021 MotoGP Ignition cards will not look the same as the 2020 MotoGP Ignition cards, and that's the same for any year of iteration that we do. We always try and make sure that they are as visually unique as they are unique in the terms of an NFT. Yeah, I think we kind of covered most of the other stuff, I think. Yeah, a big one for us kind of in the coming, like I said, like we essentially are, I know people ask for roadmap a lot, right? So I'll give you a bit of a verbal roadmap in as best I can, thinking about what we've got in place right now. So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, high voltage website rolls out. And alongside that, like I said, we want to try and basically tie an event into it as well, another NFT earn event. And that would be your opportunity to earn high voltage tagged REV car NFTs, right? So that's kind of what we would do alongside that. Obviously, in the shorter term, there's those who do not or are not familiar with the cadence of event. We kick off another F1 Delta Time event next week for the GP. And then I think we're probably looking at maybe around Wednesday that we basically kick off pack opening. So people can start actually opening the packs and getting their cards. Going through July and probably around July, early-ish August, let's say, this is when we want to basically have an early iteration of marketplace. We will only do it if we really do feel like it's technically secure and safe for people to use. What we don't want to do as well is something that we're consciously avoiding is systems that require kind of bank like withdrawals and stuff. We want it to be as decentralized as it possibly can be. So it's a case of like you use the tokens that you have to do those purchases, and then at some point we would, just for best ease of access and onboarding, we'd want to allow credit card options for people who want to buy stuff on the marketplace. Yeah, we like the version that we want, the one that we try and put out is one that allows people to essentially like withdraw crypto as opposed to basically being kind of like a similar stuff where basically people are having to kind of wait long times to withdraw cash to specific bank accounts and all the rest of it. And then around coming towards the end of summer is when we look to roll out kind of utility for the cards for MotoGP Ignition, that experience. July is when we look to push out the initial racing experience for REVV Motorsport, the gameplay, and the first utility for those Rev NFTs that people will be winning at that time. And then coming through August, we are possibly looking to roll out a second REVV Motorsport gameplay mode But then also that kind of comes into us looking to really kind of clear up a few schedules and really nail down how we want to approach things such as Formula E asset sales, Formula One 2021 asset sales, and then with marketplace available, look at then kind of starting to roll out more packs and stuff like that alongside, you know, the utility and game experiences that we've been putting out. So there's a whole bunch coming, and it's super exciting. But yeah, there's some things that we just want to make sure we deliver on first, such as opening packs and such as kind of, you know, the things that we've been talking about before as well, like where you can claim rewards and things like that too. Okay, so if anybody wants to, oh, here's a question. Polygon. Oh, yeah. So basically, where we are with Polygon is that. So I think I mentioned this a little bit before last time. Last time we had a session, but basically we have this is being used for the Rev NFTs. We have a Polygon 1155 contract that is going to be used to mint the first round of NFTs. So we are on Polygon on testnet right now. And then from there, once we're okay with that, metadata looks okay, tokens are as they're supposed to be, we move that to mainnet and we mint those same NFTs out, and people will have them in their wallets at that point. But there's kind of a, like, we have our Rev token and our kind of more final fleshed out version of the 1155 token contract that will be used to minting all the other assets from. Those are still going through audit right now. So those two contracts, both the Rev version on Polygon and the 115 version on Polygon, the final versions we'll call them, support Rev meta transactions. So even though, again, like Polygon network is super low fee, we just want to make it easier so people can actually pay transaction fees with their Rev instead. So they don't need to have both, you know, the native token and Rev. They can just do it all with Rev. So yeah, it's being audited. We expect that audits can take around 4 to 5 weeks, depending on kind of how solid our contracts are, I guess, and kind of the issues that are being found. But yeah, it's kind of fully in progress. We're very deeply into kind of the work that we're doing with on the Polygon side. Okay. Yeah, so I think that was that one question anyway. So if anyone else had anything that they were curious about, feel free. Okay.
Can you hear me, Sean?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I just have a couple of questions. First one, you mentioned the audit you expect 4 to 5 weeks. How far through are you in that process already?
The audit itself, we basically only really just started. So essentially, like, we had our contracts ready to. We did what we wanted to. Actually, we did a round of updates kind of last week where we just kind of did some optimization. The audit officially started on the 23rd, so it was like, yeah, literally yesterday. So they've basically just started, and we expect this, like, based on past experience doing audits, it usually takes around 4 to 5 weeks. Again, if we have fewer issues, then maybe it's 4 weeks tops and we roll out to mainnet. If we have more issues, then maybe it's another week or so on top of that. The Rev token itself should be pretty straightforward because it's just a slightly modified ERC20, so it's fairly kind of straightforward and like nothing complex there. It's the inventory contract itself that's a bit more complex because it's kind of a modified version anyway of what we've been using to mint Rev and F1DT tokens from. I mean, they're separate contracts anyway, but the F1DT contract is like, I think probably maybe 3 3 iterations old at this point. We've got a bunch of optimizations, and this Polygon version includes those optimizations plus its interpretation and implementation of meta transactions for Polygon as well. So it is definitely like bare minimum at least 4 weeks away.
Okay, so that's a Matic sidechain that we can actually use for our NFTs. About 4 to 8 weeks away.
Yeah, about let's say all things going well and we get the wind behind our back, it'll be ready in 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, perfect. And then the second question, we had the play to earn for the NFTs a couple of weeks ago. Do you know when we'll actually receive those NFTs?
The play to earn, yeah. So we have those. We set the metadata up. We did a metadata test yesterday. It ends up being around 131 NFTs, I think. It will be 3 types of car. They're going to be put out at random and evenly distributed. So each one of them has the metadata tag competition. Let me just check what the name is. It's called the Rev Ambition. That's the name of the car. So I think we are looking at early next week to be minting those on mainnet. So everybody who submitted their MetaMask will get them first. If we get the people, we're reaching out to like a handful of people who kind of entered with a non-MetaMask wallet. We just want to make sure that they can set up a MetaMask, and it won't postpone the initial drop for those who did play with the MetaMask off the bat. But yeah, we're expecting kind of early mid next week for those NFTs to be delivered.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. Whilst I think. Okay, so I'll give it a mo, see if anyone has any more things they may want to ask. Let me have a look and see if there's anything interesting that we can I can let you know.
Can you hear me again?
I can.
SpeedTech Bertok, his mic's not working, so he's just reached out. He just wants to know about the ghost car and how it actually works.
Yeah, we've been doing testing on that internally. So I think we do have a new version that has some fixes today. We're probably not going to push it out because it's not had enough test on it at this moment, at least. Let's check. Yeah, because we've had a couple of versions. Like basically, there's some small fixes that we're expecting to push out probably at the beginning of next week. At this point, so I don't think So we're investigating Ghost. There was an issue on turn 7 on the Monaco circuit. That's going to be fixed for the next build. Let's have a look. A couple of fixes for the prototype, so that's not really something we're going to release. There was a slight issue in Silverstone that's been fixed as well. Just keep looking.
Yeah, there was the turning, the green turning lines were missing, and also I noticed my car was disappearing slightly.
Yeah, so that one should be fixed. So basically what it is the car sinks below the surface, seems what it is.
Correct.
So that one's fixed now. So we should be pushing that out, I guess, on the Monday, Tuesday, ahead of like the next event, just to ensure that we don't roll out anything with any oversight regarding balance, essentially, so we don't kind of create any kind of unintentional changes. Let me see what else we have. Belgium. Okay, yeah, that was not a problem. Yeah, so I think we're definitely checking it. Yeah, that Silverstone one is definitely fixed, so that's good. The Monaco on the mini map issue is fixed, which was a minor thing. But yeah, we had a couple of reproductions of it internally, so we're still kind of digging into it properly and figuring out why and how it's just kind of started happening and stuff. But hopefully we fix it and then we can push it out on like the Monday, Tuesday alongside the event as it goes up. Yeah, I mean, any issues we will always kind of, you know, as we need, we'll kind of see if more, because like we're able to test on what we have here. Which isn't everything. We have like a decent spread of hardware that allows us to check a bunch of scenarios, but sometimes there can just be something that's a little, just slightly outside of like, you know, parity with what we have. So it just takes, it's not always that easy to reproduce some of the issues. But yeah, hopefully we do kind of, we have that fixed. If we do have it fixed, obviously we will be pushing it out with the update we put out at the beginning of the week. Yeah, because I know it's been a bit of a problem for people, so you know, it's unfortunate. It sucks. We're gonna keep digging into it, though. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of fixes. That one, I think we're still trying to resolve fully. But yeah, if we can get it fixed, it will go out. Okay. Are we looking at any other questions, or are we? You're the chief, Alison. So you make the call if we're set a timer, I guess. I give it a couple of minutes. If we're all good, then we say all good and we wrap that up. All right. So, regardless, the Discord's there. People can always ask follow-up questions, all the rest of it. Ask whenever you can, and we will always answer and follow up. You know, everybody in the team, everyone who mods for us, like everybody's kind of always escalating and pinging us whenever anybody has questions. Our team itself works super hard to try and kind of escalate and get everybody answers. Unfortunately, they're not always the answers wants to hear, but 100% we are definitely like listening to everything that comes through, including all the suggestions, the ideas, for example, about basically having a loadout so you don't need to have separate configurations where you need to take parts from one and place them into another just to be able to race. That stuff is due to like legacy. That stuff takes a little bit more time to fix in a way that doesn't leave it open to exploits. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't fixed it, because it's actually kind of based on how we built it to how it's like to the kind of overhaul needed to kind of allow it. it's not kind of a simple rollout for us because, like I said, it digs into some legacy code and stuff like that. But we do obviously take note of everything there. But yeah, I guess we're basically good for today. So I will say thank you for everybody for listening in. Hope you join us again next time. And hope you have fun playing what we're building. Thanks again. Bye bye.